Hello again, I'm Richard. If you don't remember me from the other videos, today we're going to use the oscilloscope, and you're going to need 2 function generators, and you're also going to need 2 BNC to BNC cables, and also you got to make sure you have 3 power supply cables so that you can power each function generator in the oscilloscope. So the first thing you need to do is plug in all the equipment. Okay, so once you have the 2 BNC cables hooked up to your function generators on the 50 ohm output, you'll see a 1 and a 2 here. That stands for channel 1 and channel 2. There's also an EXT trig. This is an external trigger. You don't need to worry about this one. So these are the 2 signal inputs you're going to use. So one function generator is going to be plugged into the 1 BNC port. The other function generator is going to go into 2. Once you have those plugged in, on the top left corner there's a little on-off switch, and then it'll turn on and you're going to get a blue screen, and it takes a few minutes to come up. So you see the blue screen right now. Once it's done starting up, you'll see a little message that says touch any button to continue or do something else. Give that a second to show up here. Okay, now it showed up. It says power up test passed. So every time it checks itself and makes sure that it passes everything. You can set the date and time, and you can press any button to continue. If you leave it on the screen long enough, it'll just show that. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to only show channel 1 by clicking the 1 button, this yellow button right here. And channel 2 is showing in blue, but I'm going to turn it off, so I'm going to hit that button twice, and now you can see only channel 1 showing. So you see yellow, that's channel 1. And that corresponds to the button right here that says a big 1 in yellow. Channel 2 is this blue button right here. So, as you can see, right here above 1, this is the scaling knob. And that is shown underneath in this screen right here. In the bottom left, there's channel 1, and it says 10 volts. 10 volts is the voltage per divisions. And a division is the origin to this one big box here. As you can see, origin to the big box. So it's not each individual dot, it's the big grid system. The major grid system is one voltage per division. So right now it's 10 volts. So each of those boxes is 10 volts. Now those little dots in between are equally divided amongst that 10 volts, so you can determine it more. Right here, this knob determines the vertical positioning of this, so I can move it down below to the axis. And then I can also move it up. I can put it in the center. So what you can do now is play with the scaling to get a proper scaling that you like to see. So right now it's at 20 volts, and I can see the signal better. I can also change it to be a bit symmetric about the axis by using my vertical knob. Now to get it to stay still, I'm going to hit over here on the right. There's a trigger. If you see right here, there's this triggering box here. You can go to trigger menu, and you're going to want to touch this knob to make this wave stand still. So what you're going to do is, once you hit the trigger menu, if you go back to the screen, the second line here, this one right here on the menu, this button, you're going to change it till it shows channel 1. So now it shows channel 1. I'm going to go back to the triggering knob here, and I'm going to play with it, move it until I get the wave to stand still like that. So now that the wave is standing still, I can use that. So now I have my first wave form showing. I can also change the x-axis scaling by going to this horizontal square, and if you look right here, there's a scale knob just like the ones for the vertical scaling. You can adjust this knob to adjust the scaling of the time for the x. Now again, right here it says M, and right next to M it says 5 milliseconds. That is the seconds per division. So that's each of these big boxes here is 5 milliseconds. So you can also use this position knob over here by the horizontal section to move your wave in a horizontal scale. So I can move it to the origin, and then you can find the period easily by counting the boxes, and then you can find your frequency. So that's how you find the frequency from the function generator. Okay, so now if you want to change your coupling for, say, the channel 1 here, if you want to see if there's an offset or not, you hit channel 1 to make sure you bring up the menu about channel 1, and at the top here you say coupling. If you hit this top button here, you can see it change to AC, DC, ground, so this will tell you what the offset is, and then DC, AC, and ground. So you can go through those and see if there's an offset. If there is an offset, you'll be able to see that in the DC, between the DC, AC, and ground. So you see DC is now a little bit offset. AC is different. It's about the origin, and so is the ground, but you see that DC is offset. So that's one way to see offsetting. Now the next thing is, if you're having trouble with your trigger, getting it to stay still, say it looks like this, and it keeps on moving, there's a run and stop button. I can hit that button and it'll stop the waves. And then now I can take a picture of that and save it to my flash drive. And if you see stop here when you first turn your function generator on, all you need to do is hit the run button so it gets moving again. That's it. So now I want to look at my second signal, so I'm going to hit the blue button. So now both signals are showing. Now I also want to adjust the scaling so I can see my signal very good. So I'm going to go to the second one, scaling, and I'm going to play with that to get a good scaling, like that. And then I can also play with my x-axis some more. Now you can see that the triggering is not very good for the blue one. So what you can do now is hit the trigger button again, change your source to channel 2, and then play with the triggering knob again until you get the wave to stand still. Right about there. So now I got channel 1 and 2 showing at the same time. Say I want only channel 2, I hit the channel 1 button once, hit it again, and it'll turn off the channel 1. So now I just see channel 2, and it's stationary. And then this channel 2 right here tells you the voltage per division for the channel 2. So you see it in blue here. It says voltage per division for channel 2. And it also tells you M again is also the time scale. The time scale is the same for both channels, but the volts per division for each channel can be different. So you'll have channel 1 on the left here and channel 2 right next to it. The channel 1 is yellow and channel 2 is blue. So that will tell you the voltage per division. And again, the voltage per division is one big grid box. So now, the last thing you're going to need to do for this lab is you saw each channel individually, then you saw them together. The last thing we need to do is add them together for this lab. And you're going to do that using the math function. So you're going to hit the math button, and then since we already have the second one showing at the same time, we can turn off the second one so we only see math. And right now, if I hit on math, you can see this first button here has the operation. Below it says sources, so you can change the sources. But we're going to add it. But if it's not on add, set it's on subtraction like it is right now, you just keep on hitting this button until you see add. Now, this oscilloscope has a great feature. You can actually hook a USB flash drive in right here. I'm going to do that right now to show you how to use that. So you plug in my flash drive to the front there. This screen's going to show up, recognizing it. Now, you can actually save this as a picture file, so you don't have to worry about looking at it and stuff, so you can actually have it. This is a great new feature with these oscilloscopes that other classes never had. So you guys are the first ones to use it. Very lucky to do that in the fall of 2012. So in order to save this picture, on the top where these other buttons are, you see Save Recall. Right here. It's right above Utility. It says Save Recall. So if you hit that, it goes to the Save menu here. So I'm going to go next. If you look here, it says Folder Select, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4 buttons down. It says Folder Select right here. So I'm going to click that. And then it's going to go to my flash drive, and then I can use this big knob up here to scroll through. So wait for the video to show up. This big knob right here, I can scroll through which folder I want it to save as. So you can just select it. It's pretty self-explanatory. Change folder, new folder, such and such. So change folder, and then it tells it to save it there. So the next thing you can do is once you have the folder selected, you can hit the Save Recall button again, and then you're going to hit at the top, it says Save Recall, and at the top it hits this, you see this button that says Save All, and then you can select your file like we were saying. Right here, the second button, you can choose the format of the file, JPEG, and a bunch of others, TIFF and BMP, so I'm going to just use BMP. You can select the folder which you want to save on your flash drive, and down here this bottom button it says Save. So I'm going to hit that button, and you're going to see a little clock in the bottom right showing it's saving. And once it's done, it'll go back to this menu and you can keep going. Now to get back to the channel 1 menu, you just hit channel 1. To get back to channel 2, you just hit channel 2. To get back to math, you just hit math. And once you're done with all this, you just take the button in the top left and just turn it off. And that's how you use the oscilloscope in this lab.